this way of eating just makes things so much simpler. You get all the vitamins and minerals you need. You're satiated. Grocery shopping's easier. I just feel like just life overall it just becomes simpler.
And now I just literally put like in a pot a bunch of like chicken thighs, you know, and they cook, and I'm good for like the next 4 or 5 days. And I just add bacon on top of that. And then I'll do like, say, shrimp, and that lasts me a long time. And I'll do ground beef, and it's so easy. After years of the science background that I've had and the personal struggles with like food addiction and, you know, all that kind of stuff, I have come to a conclusion that this is a carnivore diet, or a hyper carnivore diet is the most optimal human diet. I come across a study that is powerful and high quality and tells me something I didn't know. I'm going to update my views, and I'm going to let you know that I've updated my views. And what I'm interested in is feeling and looking my best and living forever. Those are my main concerns, and anything that's going to get me there, I'm open to that. For a long time I didn't, but now I do. I'm not convinced that you know, just eating muscle meat, you can do it for sure. You can be healthy, you can be 99% better than whatever you were eating before, for sure, just by eating a carnivore diet without organ meats. I want to be as best as possible. And I have found that the main things that I need to pay attention to on this diet is vitamin D and optimizing for vitamin content. So that means organ meats. What I'm doing right now is just desiccated organ supplements. You know, I just take 3 with 1 meal, another 3. So 6 capsules a day, and that's it. And of course, the vitamin D. My triglycerides were 45. Wow. And it used to be like a little higher than 150. I was like, okay, no, this is great, you know. My cholesterol is perfect. I mean, I don't have any issues with that. With regards to total cholesterol, people need to know 75% of people who have heart attacks have what is considered as normal LDL cholesterol. So they're, you know, they're not even candidates to be put on a statin to lower their LDL, but yet they're still having the heart attacks. It has nothing to do with that. LDL has a normal physiological function. Like, we need that to create our hormones, right? It's like a boat that carry the fat within the blood. Fat and water, they don't mix well together. You need high levels of LDL, especially the large fluffy ones, in order to create your vitamin D hormone, to create testosterone, DHEA, estrogen, progesterone, all of those sex hormones that you are absolutely in need for if you really want to optimize for your mental and physical health. It's not your LDL levels that we worry about. It's when those LDL molecules get damaged by inflammation. What causes inflammation? Industrial seed oils. The exact oils that the American Heart Association tells you are the healthful oils, those are exactly what are going to damage your LDL particles and increase inflammation. There is no real high quality randomized controlled trials that show that eating meat causes cancer. It just doesn't exist, right? What we do have are lower quality observational epidemiological studies that use a very flawed tool, the food frequency questionnaire, to ask you about your overall meat consumption over the past 12 months. So I've used that when I did my master's study. It's an hour-long questionnaire. By the end of it, your participant is like, kill me now, you know, because you're asking them about every single thing they ate. And the way that it asks the question is like, over the past 12 months, how often have you eaten pepperoni pizza? And they have to remember over the past year in general, how many times did they have that pepperoni pizza? Once a week, twice a week, blah, blah, blah. So can you just pause for a second and see just how subjective and prone to memory flaws that tool is? We have to look at that as a form of red meat intake. Mm-hmm. So then they take that red meat intake and they use that to correlate it with risks of disease. So of course, if you're having pepperoni pizza or a burger, of course, you're probably going to have an elevated risk of all kinds of diseases, not just cancers, right? But is it the pepperoni, or is it the crust and the fries and the sodas you're drinking with it, and the fact that you're eating those foods, which probably also means you don't care maybe to exercise, or you don't care to take your vitamins as well. It's called the healthy user effect. And I get it. I understand why that happens. It's very difficult to conduct well-controlled trials where you bring in people and have them follow a diet and make sure they eat that diet for an extended period of time. I put it within the perspective of evolution, and within the perspective of what our genetics and DNA has been exposed to for 99% of our existence, right? Because that gives you kind of like the best quality long-term study, because if we ate those for 2 million years, it probably is good for us. I mean, we've survived famines, we've survived, the people who eat those foods seem to be stronger.
So CrossFit really helped me with so many things with my diet. Number one, because paleo is just what's big in the CrossFit community. So, Danny started reading about paleo. You need fat. And then, of course, I tried it and I felt so much better. That's when I was able to do a little bit of intermittent fasting. I felt like I could actually eat and not have to restrict myself all the time. And I started lifting weights in CrossFit. I started to really lift weights. So that it got me out of that as well. And so I think I did a lot of healing during that time. Typical bodybuilding, if it fits your macros diet. I mean, I did it because I have good willpower. But it was hard. But I mean, I did it and I did lose weight. But again, it's like you're obsessing about food all week. You binge on the weekend on your cheat day. And then to add on to that, I was diagnosed with postpartum depression after Dean. I was put on antidepressants and I knew I didn't want to be on them forever. And so I probably took them for about 1.5 years, the antidepressants. He had a friend at the gym that was like, you got to try this keto thing. You got to try this keto thing, Danny. But at the same time, I was struggling so much with the postpartum and I wanted to get off Zoloft that I knew that that was going to be the only way. I was like, well, if I want to get off of these antidepressants, I'm pretty sure keto is going to be the one thing to help me, because I know that I need fat. I was reading a lot of testimonies from people as well. So I was super down. I was like, all right, let's go, done. And so, but it was a very scary experience. So definitely, if you want to get off antidepressants, do it with a doctor. But I did, I went through it. And honestly, like a month later, I felt great. I felt so good. Like my brain just eating fat again. Oh my goodness. It's just this feeling of like, my brain works, I had some GI issues that I had going on with, and I was eating a lot of like greens and salads at the time, still keto. And so that's when carnivore started becoming, a thing. And I was hearing all these people's testimonies and I was like, you know what, I'm going to just try it. Like, what do I have to lose? I'm going to just eat protein the whole time we're here and see what happens. And I didn't throw up. I felt so good. Like all my digestive issues went away. I stuck with that. I noticed my mood got even better. Like my anxiety was the best it had ever been. And I mean, now I'm at the point where, I've healed my gut. I know the foods. I've also done some testing like MRT, food sensitivity testing. So I know the foods that I can stay away from. But I still stick with like a very small, I'm not like 100% carnivore all the time. But like I always say, I have like my 5 foods, you guys. Like I eat avocados, like some squash sometimes, but like mostly I'm carnivore. So that's kind of where I'm at now. I've been bodybuilding again for like how old is my little one? He's 8. So 8 years at this point. And I love it. It's fun. I love going to the gym. It's like my therapy, my stress reliever.
I went off to the University of Utah to play baseball. And there I started doing what most college kids do, partying a lot, drinking a lot, just eating super crappy food. And by the time I was about 22 and done with school, the eczema and dermatitis and psoriasis was starting to become pretty systemic. So crux of my elbows, armpits, crotch, the T-zone of my face, were starting to have these like monthly flare-ups that were a little bit more than they used to be, meaning before I'd have a little thing on my scalp and I just didn't care, right? And now it was embarrassing. It was making me self-conscious. It was literally on my face. And it just progressively grew and grew and grew and grew till around age 24, 25, 26, 27. Those years were when my skin disease really just went nuts. And I had been going to dermatologists all over the place. And I was getting the same answers from them. You're going to have eczema for life. There is no cure. The only thing you can do about it is to take prescription drugs or cortisone creams or some type of strong pharmaceutical, maybe even immunosuppressant. And you're going to have to manage symptoms for the rest of your life. And that didn't sit well with me. I felt that was just in my body was just like, nope, that's not truth. Like I just felt that there was some other way. So that's when I kind of jumped down the rabbit hole of quote unquote holistic health in general. Started finding things within yoga and yoga therapy, some alternative healing methodologies. What I thought was going to be the dietary answer was plant-based. For me, the veganism took me from a place where I was eating worse than the standard American diet, and it taught me how to have the discipline with my food intake. And it also taught me the knowledge of what my macros are and how many calories I'm eating and what nutrients my body really can thrive on. I know after about a year of really intense cleansing, detoxification, meditation, yoga, working out, getting in the sun, and veganism, I was able to pretty much heal my skin completely. Fast forward to year 7 as a vegan, and I am in a partnership with a lady, and we get pregnant, and we're both really excited about having this baby. And the baby, it dies in miscarriage, and we find out that the baby passed because my partner at the time had been vegan for about 5 years. She developed a really severe blood disorder. She couldn't upregulate B vitamins or vitamin D, and her body was just a mess. And it was majorly due to her veganism. So at that point, along with my own weight loss, gut issues, teeth issues now from 8 years being vegan, I took a really hard look at things, and I had to kind of take moral inventory and get ultra honest with my process and myself. And it was very, very clear what the next steps needed to be. So I transitioned pretty quickly. Once that bell went off in my head, I basically went from vegan with a very high fruit intake to ketogenic diet with like salmon and pastured eggs intake as the main fuel sources. And within a month, my biomarkers, my hormones, my skin, everything just felt different. Everything felt just better. I felt more masculine. I felt strong again. I had interest in sex again. I had interest in the gym again. And all of those things were almost gone my last few years as a vegan. It felt like I was just an empty vessel in a way. It's a little dramatic, but I really did comparatively.